Hey everyone, we are reporting in from AMD's Advancing AI conference. I have Abhitesh Kastuar with me from Phanos AI and Vladimirs Sazonovs from Cisco. So guys, tell me a little bit about yourself, what have been keeping you busy. Introduce yourself.
Thanks, Muneeb, and thanks for hosting us here. My name is Abhitesh Kastuar, as you said. I go by Abhi. I'm a co-founder at Phanos AI. We are a neo-cloud focused on the AMD ecosystem, and we work closely with Cisco, AMD, and Supermicro. We'd love to talk more about what we do, but I'd like to let my friend Vladimirs go next.
Thank you, Abhi. So my name is Vladimirs. I'm part of Cisco team. We work to help our customers grow. So we work with Abhitesh and the team to help Phanos grow with the technology and partnership with the Cisco.
So Abhitesh, first question to you. What is the biggest barrier to enterprise AI adoption today?
It's the purpose of why Phanos came to be. We at Phanos came into business to focus on enterprise AI. Some of the biggest barriers involved in enterprise AI revolve around data security, model provenance, data provenance, and the ability to basically monitor and ensure that sovereign requirements of enterprises are being met at all times. And that's why we work closely with Cisco and Supermicro and AMD to ensure that the end-to-end solution we offer meets the requirements that satisfy CISOs, CFOs, and various compliance and risk auditing officers.
Vladimirs, any thoughts?
Yeah, so what we think at Cisco that enterprise customers, when they find the applications, AI applications which help grow their business, they're faced with the need to build or use an AI infrastructure behind it, compute, networking, security around it. And they see that it's complex, it requires investments which they're not comfortable about in a longer period of time. It's a trust. And many of those elements cloud providers like Phanos can address. They can take care of putting complexity outside of the enterprise and manage the technology stack. They can invest and build infrastructure to provide it to enterprise customer as a service. And last but not least, in partnership with the Cisco, they can build a security environment around it to make sure it's comfortable for the customer.
So Vladimirs, is the problem mainly technical, organizational, or financial?
I think for the customers, it's the whole complex of those. Yeah. So I believe the enterprise customers in the AI era still making decisions in the same way as before. They look at the project, they try to understand what's the value for them, what it makes to build it. There is always operational challenges. There is always financing required one or another way, and there is a safety and security. Nobody is discounting this for the enterprise customer. So they look at the AI. It maybe have unique technological challenges, unique operational or security challenges, but challenges still there. And the cloud providers addressing them massively.
Yeah.
Now, I think that neo-cloud providers like Phanos can actually provide to the enterprise customers flexibility in many of those domains.
Absolutely.
On the operational side, financial side, technology and customization side, and as well security.
Yeah. So Abhitesh, how is Phanos uniquely positioned to solve these challenges?
Yeah, and Vladimir hit the point spot on, which is it's a complex problem around technology, money, and time, frankly, to meeting objectives, business objectives. At Phanos AI, we provide what we call an enterprise-grade cloud that's sovereign AI ready. And what that literally means is that we have built our cloud to address the core problems we hear about from various enterprise customers. For example, just this morning at Advancing AI, we had an enterprise customer, AMD's enterprise customer on stage, talking about their data sovereignty requirements. This is a major customer who wants to ensure certain customer-sensitive data is retained on-site, yet they have use cases that would typically be well-served on a public cloud. For example, a customer logging in to inquire about the status of X, Y, or Z, right? So there's a delicate balance there, and the challenge that brings to bear for enterprise customers is how do you meet the burst demand that a cloud can provide, or acquire the burst demand that a cloud can provide, and yet be able to integrate that with on-prem solutions that maintain the data sovereignty requirements. So we at Phanos AI, we work closely with Cisco on this particular problem, and we have the unique ability to extend our cloud into the customer's premise. Same user interface, same control infrastructure, ensuring end-to-end encryption and data protection, and authentication. And that's why we are uniquely positioned to serve this particular use case in this market segment.
So, Abhitesh, a question for you.
Sure.
Are enterprises moving too slowly or spending too quickly?
I think neither. I think you could argue that enterprises are moving. The level of spend is relatively subjective depending on the enterprise. For example, you see a significant spend going into pharmaceuticals, telcos, and the like. But there are other industries that might be lagging behind. And part of the problem is the very problem we are discussing here, which is how do you provide enterprise services that meet the requirements of public-facing aspects of their service while maintaining the data integrity and sovereignty of the data that is really important and confidential to them. And that's why I think it's a neither problem. So the focus right now for enterprises is in ensuring that they don't overspend. And hence you could argue that some industries are moving too slow. And that's why I believe we are uniquely positioned along with partners like Cisco to go address that, because we make it simple to adopt the technology while ensuring all the critical things they care about, primarily hinging around security.
Vladimirs?
Yeah, it's a broad question. Yeah, what I see on the market, that some financial customers who actually know how to count money, they understand that investments in this can pay back. We see on the market some financial customer invest tens of millions of dollars into the AI infrastructure and AI applications which help them accelerate the process they're working on. With biotech, they also see the value of what high performance compute can bring them. But in biotech, results doesn't come overnight. The customers have to find the right application, find the right way how they can manage or apply the data with the models and get the results out of it. Many customers starting with the pilots, deploying a little bit, expanding, testing and proving. Yeah, there are statistics that 97% of pilots doesn't immediately produce a result. That's fine. If 3% bring up tremendous results, that's very good. This is where cloud providers like Phanos can help enterprise customers start, test, deploy their application, validate, and then scale in production.
So, Vladimirs, that's an interesting point. And Abhitesh, then a question for you. What separates a real deployment from a pilot?
In reality, customers want their pilot deployments to be as close a replica of a real deployment as possible. Otherwise, you get into alpha, beta, A/B testing scenarios. So in my mind, for agility purposes, they should be the same. However, the cloud or the service you use should provide the way to isolate the two environments in a manner that ensures the right integrity levels for what you're trying to accomplish. You don't have to necessarily use two disparate environments. You have to use disparate setups within the same environments. And that's what I think is the difference between pilot and production. From all the conversations I have with various customers, they want this real thing, but they want to make sure it works. So we give them the real thing, but we contain the blast radius of it by isolating it in a specific way. And that's where Cisco really helps us. Their networking, their security, both hardware and software capabilities really helps us in ensuring all of these criteria are met.
Any perspective on that, Vladimirs?
Yeah, I think control, performance of a result, and the trust and security is I would think on top of my mind.
Yeah.
The enterprise customers who found the way how they can use AI application or technology in their business process, and they see what effect it can bring, they say, okay, now I commit my data to this. That's very important things. For many companies, the data they have about the customer process or IP is the core of the company. So committing the data to the AI process and then executing with that is a big thing. So they will be thinking about performance of that. If it doesn't work, it's a problem. So they need to have a trusted partner who knows how to operate it. The trust and security, data stays within the data center. That's a very important piece, or in some managed colo, or in a cloud managed by the operator. That's a trust and security all over the place.
Yeah.
Luckily, companies like Cisco have been in that business for a while. We know how to build it. We know how to create a security perimeter for the enterprise customers. We know how they can monitor and observe how the data travel between different locations and being consumed under control.
So, Abhitesh, is networking really a hidden bottleneck for enterprises?
It can be, to be honest. Enterprise networks, from when I was younger, were 1 gigabit, 10 gigabit, 40, 100. And now you have the latest compute infrastructure, especially AI compute infrastructure, running at 800 gigabits or 1.6 terabits, as we saw this morning. And that long term is a deterrent for enterprises to be continuously investing in that sort of capacity. And that's where, going back to this topic we discussed earlier, enterprises have to plan what they want to keep sovereign and where they can leverage public clouds. For a lot of sovereign AI use cases, the requirement to go to 1.6T, for example, doesn't exist, not at least today. However, there is a valid requirement to do 100 gig or 400 gig, and the unit economics of that networking has come down substantially from, say, 5 years ago. So there is an ability to solve that problem rather readily today. To me, the bigger problem today with that for enterprises is around having the technical expertise and the know-how how to deploy AI infrastructure correctly in their own environments, and or correctly leverage public clouds such that they maintain all the criteria we talked about intact, i.e. confidentiality, sovereign requirements, etc. And from a CFO's perspective, not overspend, right? So I think the biggest complexity still remains in the know-how of deploying it effectively on their end. And that's where companies like us, our objective is to come in with a solution, partner with folks like Supermicro, AMD, and Cisco, go in, deploy a solution, tailor it to their requirements, make sure the security requirements are met, the data sovereignty requirements are met, and they're up and running in no time.
What do you think?
On networking, we've been doing networking for 42 years. Who's counting? But secure networking is an important piece. Yeah, behind iPhone Magic or laptop connected to the Wi-Fi, there is a substantial amount of networking behind technologies to make sure the internet works. We've been doing this for 42 years. So in AI, when you put your request into the chatbot, there is a lot of networking involved, from your phone to the Wi-Fi, to the network, to the data center, inside data center, between GPUs, between servers, across clusters, across data centers. If that network is not built right, if packets getting lost or delayed or unsynchronized, your inference would not work. Your chatbot will stuck. It cannot be allowed in production environments. If in a training run, the data is not synchronized between different data centers and servers, the training run fails. If you train a model for the days, the whole day's works of process fails. All the GPUs you burn for days, lost in production. Yeah. And now as we moving forward and see how AI and machine learning are going to be getting sensory data, automation and robotics, yeah, then the latency of getting the sensory data from environment around it, make decisions and react, is very critical, yeah.
If I may add to Vladimir's point, I mean, I agree with him entirely. And there are two ends of this. There is the speed of the network and there is the reliability of the network. And both are equally important. However, I will agree with Vladimir completely that in an AI network, reliability is more fundamental for correct function than speed. However, in an ideal setup, you get the right marriage of both, the right combination of both.
Is GPU utilization alone a useful metric?
That's a loaded question. I think from some perspectives, yes. I talked about this in my little fireside chat yesterday at the Advancing AI event. I think from a CFO's perspective, from many a model developer's perspective who are financially constrained, yes, it is a very important metric. But GPU utilization could be misleading because the GPU could be really busy, but could be choking because of network, storage, other fabric events. So I think we should flip the conversation around to how well is the model performing and measure GPU utilization as a function of the desired or intended tokens per second we expect from that model. And so from that perspective, I think the correct metric is the total job cost, which factors in storage performance, network performance, GPU costs, CPU costs, and all of those into a metric that makes sense and yet individually visible, such that they being the user, can make sense of where the real bottleneck is. Do they need to buy more GPU? Or are they better off investing in better networking? Or are they better off investing in faster storage fabric? Oftentimes I've seen GPU cycles being stalled waiting on storage fabric. Is GPU busy? Perhaps not, but then it's not the GPUs that's not busy, it's the network that's holding them up. That's my main point. I think GPU metric utilization alone is a singular metric that does not dictate performance or TCO from a customer's perspective.
Right. So with Phanos AI's NeoCloud, you guys surface metrics or the views that can then give deeper insights?
That's one of our other pillars of our business. We have patent pending algorithms that we have developed to leveraging the best of our storage provider, our networking provider, which is Cisco, the GPU capabilities and the ROCm stack from our friends at AMD, and tools from Supermicro to build comprehensive telemetry that we then wrapped into our own methodologies and models to understand what's happening on the network at every layer and correlate the data points to understand what A, the actual job cost is, and B, where the performance bottlenecks are. And we actually make these data points available to our customers on the dashboards. Interestingly, we use the same dashboards ourselves as part of our ops frameworks. In other words, we show customers what we see, and that transparency helps earn trust, it helps breed confidence, and it helps assure customers that they're not missing something that we might be obfuscating, or vice versa.
So maybe another loaded question for Vladimirs. Why is enterprise AI ROI still difficult to prove?
I think many enterprise customers in the beginning of the journey, and they say, hey, I see this application makes sense for me, let's do it. 3 months later, new model came out, capabilities shift. 3 months later, the new GPU comes out, becomes suddenly 5x performance-wise. So the new application shows up using all that, and the new way of doing models and whatever reasoning model things, and we don't know what happens in a half year. We barely remember what happened half a year ago. So I'm looking how enterprise people need to make decisions about it, commit investing like a tens of millions of dollars, that was infrastructure cost, to buy and own something today and own for the next 5 years from enterprise kind of experience perspective. Understanding the whole thing changes every 3 months. ROI is tricky, right? Because they don't know what they don't know. So then they go to the cloud provider and say, hey, I want to rent this infrastructure for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and then I'll develop application, pilot, and then test, and then see what kind of scale I need for the production deployment, and then rent whatever is available in 6 months. That's, I think, the challenge, right? It's a challenge for them. It becomes a subsequent challenge for the cloud providers to plan, design, finance, and build all that. But it's an interesting challenge to solve.
The market landscape is changing so fast. It is very difficult to justify a spot investment in a long-term objective as being the right investment.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better answer to that question. And since I'm not a CFO, I wouldn't know how to advise a CFO how to address that question. But as a leader of a company, I will say that you have to take calculated bets, and that's why you invest in the right kind of tools and technology and partners. Dare I say, there have been very successful large-scale hyperscalers whom their customers have leaned on for years, and they may not always be at the bleeding edge of things, but over time they have continuously delivered. And we think this market is going to end up in a similar direction. We as a NeoCloud, we believe we have to consistently be pushing the envelope, as Vladimir's alluded to, in building out the next generation and making it available at the most efficient price points to customers, while delivering all of the functionality they have come to expect.
Yeah, that's why we need innovative solutions like Phanos AI.
Yes, that's right.
So how should executives compare ownership versus cloud consumption?
Financial, operational dimensions, I would say that way.
Yeah.
Financial, operational, complexity, personal, So the operating the high performance AI infrastructure is a technological challenge, it's operational challenge, just new set of technologies which many enterprise customers doesn't have. So that's where cloud provider specialist teams comes up and say, hey, we know how to build it, we know how to operate it effectively with a high availability status, high reliability. Enterprise customers should kind of validate and challenge cloud providers on that expertise, and that would be for them the important inputs to make the decision whether they invest, own, or rent. That's I think the key parameters. And again, I don't think it's fundamentally new. The enterprise customers has been doing this before in a cloud, telephony systems, really old in the technology space. And a while ago, all companies owned their PBXs. Then they say, hey, why do we do this? Why do we own? Why don't we take it off the cloud? The same thing, right? They remove complexity, remove operational concerns of operating, maintaining, upgrading, powering, yeah. Give it to specialist providers, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to agree with Vladimir. I mean, the operational challenges, hiring the right engineers, building it, maintaining it, poses a long-term strategic sort of question in terms of the ability to execute on that. Having said that, I mean, everything he said is spot on. The key ROI for executives at enterprises is long-term growth in their core business. And I think the key decision that they have to make is what aspects of their core business are being driven by the ability to take advantage of the trend in AI. And there is no one-size-fits-all answer to that question. That being said, having the right partners, investing in the right areas, doing forward-looking research. For example, I fully expect the horizon with respect to enterprise AI inference to radically change in the next 18 months. If you look at how agentic AI is moving, it is inevitable that you will see a greater mix of CPU and GPU and other forms of accelerated compute at the very tail edge, at the very edge. Hence, have to have the right partners, have to have folks who have the right vision, the right software capabilities, who will make that journey with the enterprise customer as opposed to trying to go it themselves, because this stuff is hard.
Yeah.
That's actually a very good point. If I cannot, I think so. It's core versus context. For the many enterprise customers, when they understand what's possible, having machine learning experts, having a data scientist can be very well be their core, because they own the data, they understand what they would like to learn, what's possible with this data, how they can get insights and create new products, create new whatever medicines and do the process. It's rarely having kind of engineers to maintain the technology is a core.
Yeah.
It's rarely kind of actually own and maintain technology, upgrade those servers, technology, networking is the core. It's most probably a context, something they would like to have it working, but not necessarily own the expertise in the house.
Yeah.
I would be looking at that way.
Can existing data centers and infrastructure support enterprise AI?
As we were discussing earlier in the day, that is a key question, not just today, but also looking out the next 18, 24 months. Today, looking across the landscape in the US, one of the scarcest resources is power. And newer GPUs require extensive amounts of liquid-cooled power, liquid-cooled power. GPUs are getting hotter, they're getting more powerful, which has left us in a position where a significant number of really good data centers that are air-cooled, not viable, or not at least immediately viable, for the latest and greatest GPUs to be deployed. But when it comes to enterprise AI, today the dominance is on liquid-cooled for performance. But looking out over 18, 24 months, we're already seeing, again, today at Advancing AI, we saw AMD introduce a new NIC, a smart AI NIC, with great performance for the edge AI use case. That is an air-cooled application, which sort of drives us to consider what is coming. Agentic AI requires regular compute to interface with accelerated compute to produce answers. Not all accelerated compute is designed the same. The NICs, for example, that we reviewed today at Advancing AI are extremely good at a certain class of models. However, we really do need the high-end GPUs and liquid-cooled data centers for the higher-end models. So in my view, enterprise AI and today's data center infrastructure will happily coexist, because over time, the emphasis will again rebalance towards a decent mix of liquid-cooled versus air-cooled infrastructure, whereas today, everything we are building, including us at Phanos, is all liquid-cooled. So I do think enterprises that have existing assets with air-cooled infrastructure will find resurgence in AI-oriented use cases for it. So I think that change is coming. And we at Phanos are excited about that change because it helps us serve the agentic AI market better. And I think it helps our customers because it helps them leverage their existing assets without having to throw hundreds of millions of dollars out the door and invent anew.
Right. Do you have a perspective on it, Vladimirs?
Yeah, I think enterprises will see a different sort of AI applications. Not all of them, not very few of them will do the model training, like on a foundational model training level. Not all enterprises will require 10,000 GPUs running in a single place. For that kind of situations, you would need like liquid cooled facilities designed for that. I think the more different AI applications enterprise will adopt. Some of them will require small model training. Some of them will be applying those small model training in life. Those can be on the edge. They can be close to sensors or other facilities or instruments or tools or automation. Yeah. Those may not require very immense GPU capacities. They may be agentic frameworks with orchestrating multiple different processes or tools that will require CPU capacity. So I think, as Abhitesh mentioned, the old classical CPUs are coming back in fashion with this world. The many other enterprise application doesn't disappear. Yeah? The SaaS apocalypse is not as maybe as strong as it as market perceives. Yeah, the applications are still there. Enterprise doesn't change overnight. The many processes we have today may still be in operations for 5-10 years out. So I think it's a bit too early to write off enterprise data centers, which is close to the data, close to the maybe manufacturing or research facilities of the customers, where AI applications may live.
So as we end this interview and conversation, Abhitesh, maybe a question for you that as Phanos AI becomes successful, what is your vision, how the world will change after that happens?
That's a great question. It's something that we have talked about a lot internally, and I'm happy to share that. We want to become the trusted sovereign cloud provider for all customers. And the reason I say sovereign cloud or enterprise cloud is because it creates a security bar. It creates a bar of efficiency and delivery and reliability, which is directly apropos to the traditional AI frontier companies and labs. And so we feel like if we address the problem that we've been discussing here with enterprise AI and agentic AI, already en masse deployed and only accelerating from here, we want to be a trusted partner in that domain. And we feel like that will position us to be of use to everybody, because hopefully all enterprises will be using our cloud to deliver value to all of us on a day-to-day basis.
Vladimirs, what are you most excited about as Phanos AI becomes successful?
We'll be able to catch up with them on their technology journey. We obviously work very closely on a network and security stack, understanding what a customer demand may look like, where you're going to build it, how you're going to build it, what will be the requirements, how we jointly understand, explore, and work on this. That's, I think, exciting for me. And a broader AI adoption is a very interesting thing to follow. Yeah? And being a networking company, I think we're very much in the center of it. People don't speak about it very often, but it's there.
Yeah. And in what ways Cisco is supporting the success of Phanos AI?
In multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
We jointly work on a technology architecture with the technology stack they have, with the AMD and Cisco networking and Cisco security. We're helping with them, we're working with them to design solutions for the enterprise, so enterprises can comfortably address the trust and security concerns.
Yeah. Well, Abhitesh, Vladimirs, thank you very much for joining me on this very insightful and fascinating conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.